One of my favorite Pittsburgh traditions is the Dollar Bank Three Rivers Arts Festival. You've got 10 whole days of free art and music downtown in the Cultural District, plus some great food and drinks on site if you like a little snack while you browse the vendors. The fest runs from noon to 9 p.m., May 31st to June 9th. And this year, there's a special treat, a mobile circus troupe that mixes acrobats with a beer and food truck. I don't understand, but I can't wait to see it. Cirque Kickass will be performing at 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. on June 8th and 9th, so mark your calendars. You can learn more about the festival at trustarts.org/TRAF. Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania has a new tourism slogan, which has us thinking about the best statewide getaways. We've got a bunch of updates about our transit system, including a permanent discount. And this tick season is supposed to be bad, so we're sharing some ways to prepare. Plus, after today's episode, I'll be having a conversation sponsored by Rivers of Steel about how they're involved with tours of the Cary blast furnaces here in Pittsburgh. So stick around. It's May 31st, the Friday News Roundup. I'm Mallory Falk, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. I am filling in today for host Megan Harris so that she gets a chance to let her voice recover. Self-care is important here. I am joined by CityCast's Sophia Lowe. Hey, Sophia.
Good morning, Mallory.
And CityCast contributor Meg St. Esprit. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Ready for the weekend. Meg, I know that when you're not on the show, you are a listener. So I'm curious, have you taken our audience survey yet?
Okay, so at first, I wasn't sure if I could take it because I work for you guys and I love the show and I love the team. But then I did take a look at it, and I will just say, not only is it pretty simple and does not take a lot of time, it seems like a really good way for locals to share feedback and make the show even better. So I would say if someone's on the fence about taking it, just do it.
Yeah, it helps us a lot. We'd really appreciate your input, and it is very short. Meg, we timed it. It only takes 7 minutes, so not a lot of time at all. And even if you took this survey last year, if you're able to, we'd love for you to take it again so we have fresh, updated data.
And, you know, it's quick. Like you said, it's simple, but there is also a little bonus because everyone who takes the survey is eligible to win a $250 Visa gift card plus some CityCast Pittsburgh swag.
Ooh, nice.
So, you know, if your heart isn't moved by just wanting to support this team, maybe it'll be moved by the potential to earn some money. So, yeah, you can find the survey in our show notes or go to citycast.fm/survey.
Okay, so news time. We have 3 updates about Pittsburgh Transit. The first couple are bus updates. I stole that from roving producer Elizabeth Kama because, you know, as the name suggests, they are updates about the PRT buses.
I always love talking buses, whether they're stuck in a sinkhole or on a road. My kids love riding city buses, but we also travel a lot. And so we're super aware that this city's public transportation system kind of needs a glow up. So I'm excited to hear what's coming down the pike.
Yes, so I can start with some good news then. PRT is launching a half-fare program for Allegheny County residents who use SNAP benefits. So this means folks can take the buses or the T for half the price, and this whole program's called Allegheny Go.
And Sophia, I kind of remember that there was a pilot related to this. They were kind of testing out whether or not more people would use transit if they had reduced or maybe even free fare, which it seems like kind of obvious, yeah. But how does this fit with that pilot?
Yeah, so this program is starting after the pilot ended. So in the pilot, some people were given this half-price fare. Other people were given completely free rides. And of course, like, people were still paying the full price. I saw a public source report that people who got the half-off option took rides 1 to 2 times more often. And people who got the fully subsidized option took the bus about 3 times as often. So yeah, like you would guess, lower fares means more rides.
I'm curious why, given that data, they didn't go with free fares for anyone that receives SNAP, because it seems like it encourages them to use the public transportation more.
Yeah, that was my question too. Later in that public source article, there's a quote from the CEO of PRT, Catherine Kellerman, and she said that they'd be able to help more people with the same amount of money. I didn't see an exact figure about how much like the county or PRT is planning to spend on this, but public source said that this is going to cost $1.2 million for every 10,000 people riding.
It's a hefty price tag.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll have to see how many people sign up, but has the program officially started yet?
Not yet. Very soon. It starts on June 3rd. And to get access to these half-price tickets, you do need to download PRT's Ready to Ride app. That's 2 like the number. It's available on the Google Store and the Apple Store. And that's kind of like, I guess, the caveat to all of this. It's only available through smartphones right now. But according to PRT's press release, these discounted tickets will be available through the physical card in 2025.
Okay. We do like the app. It's pretty easy to use, but it would be more accessible if it was available through the card. So I'm glad that's coming. All right. What's the next bus date?
Okay, I'm going to take this next update. Thanks to Ed Blazina at the Pittsburgh Union Progress for reporting on this. Apparently, there's this new-ish policy where people don't need to fold up their strollers when they take the bus, and that has created issues for wheelchair users.
That's interesting. I mean, we have taken our stroller on the bus before. I always fold it up, but I've definitely seen people that leave them open. It's hard because they're a pain to fold up. Mm-hmm. So I get it. But at the same time, it's an accessibility issue because you need that aisle clear.
Yeah, exactly. It is definitely super annoying to take your kid out of the stroller, especially if they're napping and you don't want to lose that precious nap time.
Yes.
But, I don't want my own convenience to come at someone else's expense, which it seems like has been the issue here. What was most surprising to me in this story was that Catherine Kellerman, as we mentioned, the CEO of PRT, changed this policy back in 2022. Until then, you did have to fold your stroller and then either carry your kid or put them on a seat. She made this change, it seems kind of quietly, like without much public input. She had kids who were close in age and said she couldn't have imagined trying to navigate public transit while, wrangling a child in a stroller. So she decided that this would be, a good change to make parents' lives easier, caregivers' lives easier, which I get. It seems very well intentioned. But it sounds like what that's meant in practice is that sometimes these strollers end up in the same part of the bus where there is space for wheelchair users. So sometimes people with wheelchairs can't get on the bus. They have to wait for the next one to come. And obviously that is a problem.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really rough.
Well, and I know even on the T, not so much on the bus, but on the T, we've definitely just pushed our stroller. And it is probably, I have not thought about it, that area where a wheelchair would go. And so we are past the stroller stage, but that's something to be more cognizant about because honestly, it didn't cross my mind, which shame on me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues with maybe making this policy change that seemed great, but without the chance for people to provide feedback who might have maybe predicted this could happen. It looks like a bunch of advocacy groups, including Pittsburghers for Public Transit, the Committee for Accessible Transportation, and Access Mob Pittsburgh, they all signed a letter that they read at this recent board meeting saying they want different sections with designated space for disabled riders and for strollers. So not necessarily calling for a return to folding up strollers, but just making sure that each of these transit users has their own space and they aren't kind of competing for the same one.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That seems like a pretty easy and straightforward solution, just designating that space, but I guess easier said than done and getting people to respect that.
Yeah, because it's also, where exactly on the bus would that space be? And then our bus driver is going to have to be the ones policing all of this. I can see that it might be a smidge more complicated, but it also does, like you said, seem pretty straightforward, Sophia. I know moving forward, Kellerman wants to get community input on a stroller policy. So if that's something that you are passionate about, you can look out for a chance to give input this fall.
All right, good to know. I'll be looking for that, and we can share it out on Kidsburg as well so parents can give their feedback. So one more bus date. Is it good or bad news?
Good news that's related to accessibility, but technically this one is not a bus date. Still PRT news, but this has to do with the T and the Red Line.
Yeah, so we thought we'd end on the happy accessibility note. Shout out again to Ed Blazina for covering this. He definitely has the transit beat cornered here. But PRT got an $8 million federal grant to make a bunch of rail stations in the South Hills ADA compliant.
I haven't spent a whole lot of time in the South Hills just because we live in the North Hills and that's a thing, right? But I will say that the few times we've ridden the T down there, I've noticed that they are not the most accessible. So it seems like a much needed update.
Yeah, I guess there are some stations that were built before the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act passed back in 1990. And so PRT wasn't required to change them to make them accessible. But now it has this funding. And so it's going to make changes at 10 stations in neighborhoods like Beachview, Dormont, Mount Lebanon, and Bethel Park. And so by the time they're done with that, the whole Red Line should be accessible.
Nice.
That sounds incredible. So what do the changes look like? What changes are they making?
Yeah, essentially they're just raising the platforms. I guess right now the platforms are lower than the entrance to the cars. So if you use a wheelchair, you can't just, go straight from the platform onto the T.
Okay. Well, that sounds like it'll be much needed update. And back to the stroller thing, probably also help those parents with strollers.
Yeah, that's very true. Everyone can benefit. Last little piece of transit news, this funding will be very helpful for accessibility, but we are also watching out to see whether Governor Josh Shapiro will get his budget proposal passed. That includes $39 million for PRT. So hopefully more money to come down the line, but we'll be keeping an eye on it.
Weighing in with soybeans and a baby show straight out of Norburn, Missouri, we have Soybean Festival. From Hayward, Wisconsin, at 73 years young with the world's largest muskie statue, put it together for Muskie Fest. Finally, packing a punch with fire dancing and a pet costume contest, the Roseau, Minnesota Fall Harvest Fest. One of these festivals could win $100,000 in the Cenex Hometown Throwdown. You decide. Cast your vote at CenexHometownThrowdown.com. Cenex, powered locally.
Okay, so Meg, I know you were really fired up today to talk about tick season. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I am fired up. I don't want to say excited because I'm not excited about ticks, but I'm excited.
Fair enough.
To share with people some ways to keep themselves safe from ticks. As a mom of four who's always in the woods, we are always on high alert for ticks. And we have found quite a few already this year. We found one on my niece camping this weekend in Pymatooning. It's going to be a bad tick season. So there's lots of reasons ticks can be bad. The reason this year is that it was a very mild winter. I saw a quote from Susanna Visser at the CDC, and she told the AP that it's a very bad season and it's only going to get worse. So we need to be on high alert.
Something that's always been wild to me is that my dog actually gets a vaccine for ticks to help her stay safe, but that doesn't exist for humans. So I'm curious, I feel like I know what to do for Zero. Get her the vaccine. I've got a little tick scraper for her paws and legs if I find them. But what can we as humans do?
Right. I think this all the time. Like my dogs, they get the vaccine as well for Lyme's disease, and they take a chewable that protects them from ticks. It's harder with humans. So, the main thing you can do is sprays. There's the chemical sprays. Honestly, we're crunchy with some things, but when we're in the woods, we don't mess around. We use DEET, which is like the strongest OG bug spray. But also lemon eucalyptus is really great and smells amazing. We went camping this weekend. Like I said, my sister-in-law is pregnant and she had a spray with eucalyptus in it. And not only did it work really great for all of the bugs, and we found no ticks on anyone that day, but it also didn't smell disgusting like some of the other ones do.
Kind of doubles as a nice little forest perfume.
Yes. The other thing is, if you're going to be hiking in the woods or anything like that, if you can stand it and it's not too hot, wear long pants, real shoes, tuck your pant legs into your socks like a dork. That's a great way to protect yourself.
Yeah, looking like a dork is a small price to pay not to get Lyme's disease.
Exactly.
I need to be better about wearing closed-toed shoes when I'm on walks in the park because I just want to take my shoes off and sit on a picnic blanket and lay on the grass and maybe this isn't the time to do that. Or if I do a very thorough tick check. So I guess, yeah, Meg, how do you do your tick checks? What are you looking for? Where are you looking? After, your day in the woods.
Yeah, well, and I have to say, my kids are the same. They love Crocs and they love to be barefoot. And so if you're going to do that, you need to check. That Brad Paisley song is coming to mind. I want to check you for ticks.
I'd like to walk you through a field of wildflowers, and I'd like to check you for ticks.
I saw a drag performance of that song. It was really great. They pulled out a tick stuffed animal thing on stage.
Oh, that's a real banger. I love that one. Yeah. So like I said, my kids are in the woods. They're not tucking their pants into their shoes because they're usually not even in shoes. So it's just about checking thoroughly. And when a tick first gets on you, it is so tiny. It looks like a little dot. I think we think of these big engorged bugs that you can see, but that only happens after they've like been there a while and sucked your blood. So check that those freckles are permanent. You'd be surprised that some of them might be a tick. And the important thing is ticks like warm, comfy places. So armpits, bum cracks. And if it's just after you got out of the woods, they're more likely to still be on your legs or ankles. If it's been a while, they travel up and look for those kind of protected hidden places.
Gotcha.
The best thing to do is check right when you get out of the woods.
Okay, so reminder, if someone, is nervous that they might have gotten a tick bite, that they might have developed Lyme disease, what are some of the symptoms they should be looking out for?
Well, what our pediatrician said is if you pull a tick off your kids or yourself, you don't need to freak out right away, especially if it's really tiny and did not become engorged yet. Just remove it safely. There's all sorts of tick removal items on Amazon. Don't burn them, which is what some people used to do, but use a safe tick removal tool. Or there's some DIY methods online you can do. But yeah, do not hold a lighter to a tick. That is old school advice that is actually can make them vomit back into you. And yeah.
Ticks can vomit?
Or regurgitate the blood. Yeah. And so that's a bad way to deal with them. So, but if you pull a tick off, yeah, watch for that bullseye rash. We hear about it from everywhere. I've been hearing about it my whole life. If you get a bullseye, get it checked out. But that's a really strong indicator of Lyme's disease. However, you don't always get a bullseye, or maybe you don't notice it. So you want to watch out for things like fevers and chills, headaches, joint and muscle pain, which a friend of mine that has Lyme's, those were the big ones for her, were stiff neck, muscle pain, joint pain, swollen lymph nodes, and then just fatigue, which can be hard to tease out in life because we're tired all the time. But if you feel even more tired, you might have Lyme's disease.
And yeah, obviously, as people are heading outside more now that the weather's nice, be on high alert for ticks. But another PSA is that you can get bitten by a tick any time of year. It can happen in the winter, especially because of warmer temperatures. So I know a lot of Pittsburghers, like myself, hibernate and stay indoors when it gets chilly. But if you're someone who's still out there in the woods, hiking, you have a pet running through some tall grasses, it's still worth doing a tick check, even if it's not, prime tick season in the summer or spring.
Okay, we wanted to end on a fun note. It turns out that Pennsylvania has a new tourism slogan.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this slogan. So while you're out in the woods checking yourself for ticks, you're in a great place to do that because Pennsylvania honestly has some of the best natural areas, cities to explore, history. And so this new slogan, Pennsylvania, the Great American Getaway, I feel like really encapsulates that. I do a lot of travel writing, and I love when I get a chance to write about Pennsylvania because there are so many things to explore.
Yeah, that's a fun slogan. I'm going to say when I first read it, I was scrolling really fast. I interpreted it as getting away from Pennsylvania. So completely wrong mark for me. But I agree that there's a lot of different things you can do here. There's definitely something for everyone.
So when I listened in on the press conference, they were talking about how central we really are to so many travelers and how they can get here in a day's drive. And so I think, yeah, we live here. So when we hear it, we think get away from here. But if you're somewhere else, hopefully it evokes the idea that you could come to Pennsylvania and check it out. We'll see, I guess.
I have vague memories when I was growing up that there was a contest to come up with a Pennsylvania slogan because I remember one of the suggestions in our family was Pennsylvania, good enough for Punxsutawney Phil, good enough for me. Though I see how that might be a little lengthy.
That's a good one.
I love that. Yeah, I think we should actually propose that to Governor Shapiro and send him a little email because Punxsutawney Phil is one of my favorite parts of being a Pennsylvanian.
Yeah, maybe next time they try to crowdsource their slogan. I'm actually looking this up now because I'm trying to fact check myself. And so it does look like in 2004 there was a contest and the winner was the State of Independence.
That's kind of generic. I feel like that could be a lot of states in this country, but okay.
I don't know. I mean, Philadelphia does have a lot of historical significance.
They signed the Declaration of Independence, yeah.
It kind of works. And it seems more exciting than some of the previous ones, which included Pennsylvania Memories Last a Lifetime. You've Got a Friend in Pennsylvania.
I don't like that one.
It feels like you can only come visit your friends.
But the one that this new tourism motto is replacing is Pennsylvania, Pursue Your Happiness.
Ooh, I don't know how that works as a tourism slogan. Maybe it got other people to come here, but I would adopt that for a motto for myself. Pursue my happiness, pursue my treats.
So the new slogan, Pennsylvania, the Great American Getaway, I think what's good about it too is there's a big push behind it. Not only is it just a new slogan, but they are promoting Pennsylvania as a travel spot. So, Governor Shapiro talked about how investing in tourism brings jobs, it puts us on the map, it improves the economy. I mean, we know that's happening in Pittsburgh. We just secured the NFL draft for 2 years from now. So tourism makes sense.
Yeah.
We love so many of the state parks. We love going to the Laurel Highlands, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Poconos. I mean, this is a great state to visit. So hopefully this slogan convinces some other people of that.
Yeah, and it seems like they're making a big deal too with like this new ad that shows Pennsylvania's forests and like where you can go whitewater rafting. It really shows off how much you can do in the state.
See the big bell right beside bigger battlefields. Go around the next bend and you'll find world-class cuisine and world-famous sandwiches. Great lakes, great trails, and grand canyons.
I was also really delighted when I found the promo video that it's narrated by Abby Jacobson, who, if you're a Broad City fan like me, you might be obsessed with. And then she also was the creative mind behind the League of Their Own TV series that filmed here in Pittsburgh. So she is from Pennsylvania, from the eastern side of the state, but we'll let that slide. So at least for this, elder millennial who loves Broad City, I was very excited to hear her voice behind the campaign. It gives it a little more legitimacy in my mind.
That's awesome. I feel like the Eastern PA, Western PA thing is even bigger than the North Hills, South Hills thing.
Very true. So Meg, as our resident travel writer, are there any other spots in Pennsylvania that you recommend folks check out? Not just for people who are coming to Pennsylvania from other places, but just good day or weekend trips for us Pittsburghers.
Some of our favorite places to visit other than the big cities are definitely some of these state parks that are scattered throughout. That we have a dark sky park at Cherry Springs. I know you guys talked about it earlier this week. There's not a lot of those in the country, so that's a big deal that we have one. My parents went on their first camping trip there when they were dating in the 70s.
Oh, that's sweet.
I know, yeah. And then we really love Prince Gallitzin State Park near Johnstown. There's a really cool museum there called the Allegheny Portage Railroad Museum.
Ooh.
Basically talking about how before Horseshoe Curve, they used to haul trains up the mountain with these big conveyors. So I mean, we have been all over the country, and that is one of the coolest museums we have ever been to, and it's right here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Most of the places that I've spent time in Pennsylvania are just Philly and Pittsburgh. I actually went to Philadelphia a lot growing up because I was like a 40-minute drive away in New Jersey. I haven't been there in ages, though, so I really want to get back there. I love the art museum, and my favorite ramen place in the U.S. is there. It's called Terakawa Ramen in Chinatown. So yummy.
Also, if you are, into cheese, then I think Lancaster is a great travel spot to come get the Amish cheese. So, people travel for cheese. People will plan a vacation around cheese. So we've got that covered.
I plan most of my vacations around food, so that makes sense. And Lancaster is just a great place to visit in general. Learn about the Amish, go see the Gettysburg Battlefield.
Where you
Dutch
can now
Wonderland.
book an overnight stay, I learned in our Hey
Yes.
Pittsburgh newsletter.
Yes, in the haunted tours at night. Oh my goodness, Gettysburg is a really interesting place to visit. And then Dutch Wonderland is a wonderful amusement park. If you have Kennywood passes, they work there too.
Oh, good tip for me. I just got a Kennywood pass.
Congrats, welcome to the club.
Meg, I think the tourism board needs to hire you.
But then I can't write about Pennsylvania. Oh, that's complicated. Yeah. I would love it. My email's in the show notes.
Okay, so finally, heading into the weekend, let's close the show as we always do. What is something that you're thinking about, looking forward to? It's just something that you've got on your mind. Sophia, want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Something that I learned recently, it's baseball news, and this is thanks to our usual host, Megan Harris. So the best ever batter is now officially Josh Gibson, a Pittsburgher. So his batting average is .372, and Gibson played here in the Negro Leagues. And those
for
stats,
the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh Crawfords.
Yeah. But those stats weren't incorporated into the MLB database until very recently, but there's been a push for that for years. We talked to Josh Gibson's great-grandson a couple years ago and his work to get Josh Gibson this recognition. So glad that's come to pass. I actually haven't listened to this episode and Megan flagged it for me, so I'll try to listen to that this weekend. And if you want to too, we'll have a link in the show notes if you want to learn more about this local legend.
That's really interesting. I'm glad they're finally righting that injustice.
Yeah.
That's important. For me this week, I mean, there's so many things going on in June. I just finished up the June guide for Kidsburg, but the big one for us is Arts Festival Pride. It starts this weekend. We just love it. It is just a great event for people of all ages, kids, adults, taking your friends, grabbing a bite to eat. I feel like it's when the city is its most vibrant, and it just makes me giddy with excitement.
Yes, for sure. As for me, I'm excited about a new podcast from some of our colleagues over at CityCast Denver. They put together this narrative podcast series called Lauren Boebert Can't Lose. You might be familiar with this controversial Republican rep who is up for re-election.
Oh, yeah.
So they are kind of digging into her rise, her most scandalous moments, her background running a gun-themed restaurant in a town that is literally called Rifle. So we are going to be dropping an episode in our feed tomorrow to entice you if you're interested in listening and learning more. And then they have their own dedicated feed with episodes dropping every Wednesday. There are already 2 out there. So I will be taking a listen this weekend, and I hope you all might consider listening too.
I will definitely be giving it a listen. I am fascinated by her in a sort of like train wreck can't look away situation. So I would love to learn more about the restaurant and everything else. All the gossip.
So much gossip. Okay, one last note for our listeners. Do not go anywhere because in just a second, we have a segment sponsored by Rivers of Steel. I will be chatting with Ron Bariff about tours and workshops at the Cary Blast Furnaces, so don't go away. I'm here with Ron Bariff. He's the Director of Historic Resources and Facilities for Rivers of Steel. And as part of that job, he oversees the Cary Blast Furnaces, which, if you don't already know, is a National Historic Landmark. Ron, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Ron, can you tell us a little bit about the history and the significance of the Cary Furnaces?
Absolutely. So the Cary Furnaces were the iron-producing facilities for the Homestead Works, U.S. Steel Homestead Works, which during their heyday were the most productive, in many ways the most important iron and steel producing facilities, not just in this region, but in this country and the world. The iron that came out of the Cary Furnaces went into the Empire State Building, the Panama Canal locks, the USS Missouri, and so on.
So then when did they close, and then when did Rivers of Steel get involved with the site?
Sure. So Cary Furnaces number 6 and 7, which are the 2 extant blast furnaces left, there used to be 7 at one time, shut down in 1978. The last 2 furnaces on the site were a few years later, but Rivers of Steel became involved in 1988 when U.S. Steel sold the property to a scrapper, and they started tearing everything down. And that's when it became very obvious and really incumbent upon folks to try to save some of this history. And that's where we came in. Rivers of Steel started working to preserve the furnaces in 1988, but we didn't physically get them until 2010.
And then I know, one of the things you do now is offer regular tours of the site. You've been doing that for more than a decade. What can people expect if they come on a tour of Cary?
Well, we do tours May through the end of October, and during peak season, which is summertime, we do them Thursday through Monday. And when people come, and we have people that come from all over the world, and they're going to basically move through the entire site, follow the process. It's a 2-hour tour, and they'll learn about the technology of iron making, but even more importantly, what they'll learn about is the history of iron and steel making in this region, but also the peopling of this region. They get to hear very personal stories from people who worked in the industry, lived in this industry, and lived in the communities around these mills.
And I heard you also have specialty tours too.
The industrial tours are our most popular tour and the one we run the most often, but we also do specialty tours. We do arts and grounds tours, looking at the art on the site. And then in June, we're going to be doing the Black Experience Tour. And that is a 1-hour tour that's offered throughout the month that looks at the African-American experience, not just at the Cary Furnaces, but in the industry overall. And it's a really important story. there was a time when 90% of the unskilled labor force at the Cary furnaces was African American. So it's a huge story.
So if people want to take that tour or learn about, any of the tours and workshops that are offered at Cary Blast Furnaces, how can they learn more?
Well, go to our website, which is riversofsteel.com, and click on experience, and you will see a variety of different experiences that you can have through Rivers of Steel, and you will find a way to get tickets to the Cary furnaces.
Thank you so much, Ron. This all sounds so great to check out.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure, and we're thrilled to take part.
And again, you can visit riversofsteel.com and click on experiences for more information. We will include that link in our show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Our music is by Benji. Megan Harris is our host. Sophia Lowe and Elizabeth Kama produced our show. Kevin Gavin and Adrian Gonzalez wrote the Hate Pittsburgh newsletter. Please subscribe if you're not already. And I am your executive producer, Mallory Falk. We'll be back on Monday with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend.
Can I say bum cracks? I don't know. Can I say butt cracks?